Yes.
All right, you're live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to today's Power Hour with the Native Wellness Institute. We started off a little bit later than scheduled, but you know what? It's going to be great. We just had some technical difficulties. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. You might have seen me in other Power Hours, but I never know who's going to join. So, Keeshi Kodonlake Kenawe Hot Tomas Carmelo Amaya Leshina, Hom Tita Carmen Amaya Leshina, Hom Dachu Tomas Amaya Senior Leshina. My name is Tomas Carmelo Amaya, and I am Yoeme and Ashwi on my mom's side, and Raramuri on my dad's side. Currently here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the ancestral homelands of our Atum, Yavapai, Peeposh, and Yaqui relatives, among others. And my wife is here to join us, Sierra Begay, who will introduce herself. I wanted to say I am very happy to have our daughter on here as well, because she's going to poke in and out. And I'll go ahead and let you go next, Sierra, passing it off to you.
Okay, hi everybody, good afternoon. Yat Sierra Bike Amaya Inishya Sabah Nishle Sinjakina Bashashin Bilagana Shiche the Sitna Janishanella the Sehot Soden Asha Shema Aylin Adams. So yeah, Brandy Miguel, yeah. And this is Hosea. This is our little baby girl. She's going to be turning 2 next month. And like Tomas said, we're married and we also work together. So we're actually in the same house right now. We're just in different rooms, and we're coming to you from the Tono Atum territory here in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona. And super excited for you guys to join us during this hour. Like Tomas said, we had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started, and that's all good. We'll just extend our power hour a little bit longer after 1. So thanks for taking the time this afternoon. We're going on more than how many videos? More than 500 now, or 400?
So many videos, and this is the 103rd week.
So many videos that have been done since the beginning of the pandemic, and we're so excited and fortunate to be a part of this call to action with the Native Wellness Institute, and continuing to give our community this different types of free resources throughout the pandemic. I know that it's been hard on us. A lot of us are burnt out from it. And wearing masks and social distancing and continuing to stay safe and getting vaccinated. Yeah, the pandemic is still going on, and there's a lot of different things that are happening around the world, and so that burnout and all of those feelings and emotions that we're feeling right now are valid. And so continuing to have these support circles, continuing to have community members encouraging each other and talking to one another, and us getting through this on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and helping each other out in that way is like so needed. And I feel like I need it being a mom. I need it being a community member. I need my community being a Native Indigenous woman during this time. And so thank you all for coming on. We're going to be talking about a few different things, but just right now in the chat so that we can feel your guys' energy and, to stay engaged. How are you all feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? Number 1, just being like burnt out, don't want to get out of bed. Number 10, being you are, ready and excited for life. And Tomas, you can take it over.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it over. Our little one seems to be maybe a little hungry right now. It's close to her nap time. So just jumping off of what Sierra was saying right now, we want to talk about this very special project we're part of called the Indigenous 20-something project from the Native Wellness Institute. Sierra and I are very honored and blessed to be co-founders and ambassadors with so many amazing peers of ours. And we want to talk about how we support each other. How do we support our peer groups during this time? You know, what are some of the tools that we have available, either through ancestral teachings that we can share from our, you know, our different nations, to curriculum that NWI has, to maybe our own personal journeys, our own healing journeys. What have we found helps us? And even acknowledging what others have done for us and has helped us. That's really important. And so that checking in that Sarah's asked everyone to do is a good way and a very simple way to just give us an idea, to be self-aware of where we might be energy-wise. There are times that our mind tricks us out and we don't have a reference in a way. And by, you know, putting that intention behind it and giving yourself a measure of like, where am I right now? How did I start off this conversation? How was I feeling an hour ago versus now? Is a good way to get a sense of how these tools can have an effect on our life in a positive way. So for me, I woke up, yesterday was an incredibly busy day. Like I was jumping in between, I was part of a summit, and then I was working with adults, and then I was asked to do this photography workshop with youth. So the age range went like super younger, and it was like, it was helpful. I felt like jumping between like the different age groups, it was different type of energy. So the youth were just like unfiltered. We were talking about photos, and they were just like saying what was off the top of the dome, and it made us laugh sometimes. Other times it made us say, oh, made us feel like, you know, it's so beautiful to see how much love our youth have, and how much love we have for our youth as well. And so that long story being said, I was feeling at the beginning of yesterday, I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and I didn't get to my coffee as early as I wanted to, and I was feeling like probably like a 7 at the start, and then at the end, it came to me when I was like washing dishes at the very end of the day. I'm like, man, we accomplished so much, and then we have a family visiting today. It took me all the way to a 10. And fast forward to today, and a continuation of having more of these conversations. This is what I20SP is all about: normalizing conversations about healing. And how do we take principles and turn them into practices? I love when one of our fellow ambassadors, Josh, who couldn't make it today, but please check out the other power hours. So many of our I20S peers are on different videos, but it's really important. Like, how can we actually create these spaces and have them be consistent? And what we often say with each other is, this right now that's happening could very well be a FaceTime between me, Sierra, Shailene, or brother TechPod, or, you know, it's like allowing time for these conversations, sometimes to just like work through maybe problems that we face, but also allow room for celebration in the things that happen in our life that are blessings. We laugh a lot. People probably look at us and we like, why are y'all laughing? Like all these, you know, things are happening. It's like, well, because it helps, and we know that it's, you know, it's a type of medicine. So that's the broad topic for today. Again, we're gonna go over usually we'd stop at 1 o'clock, but we're gonna go a little longer because we started a bit late because of technical difficulties. But Sierra and I will talk about some tools that we like to use to manage some of the challenges we face, but also how we support each other. So If you'd like to give an example, or is everything good with Asaya? If you could share with us an example of how you've been able to support your peers during the pandemic and during these, these specific challenges we faced during these times.
Yeah. So one way that I've been just being a good relative and respecting, my friends or my coworkers, peers, is I like to check in. I love to send funny memes or funny videos. I really enjoy just laughing with community. And I started working with Native youth back in more regularly back in 2016. So it's already been a number of years of working with Native youth. And so shout out to all my people that work with Native youth on a daily basis. It's, it's hard work, it's fun work, but it's very much needed, and continuing to establish those community relationships is really important for our youth today, not only because of how much society plays a role in our everyday basis, but to continue to, keep those community ties really strong, and to keep our youth grounded in stories and traditions. I know since I was a teenager and now going into adulthood, wanting to have that, or not, but wanting that, going after and seeking different lessons or wisdom or knowledge has been, very active in my 20 something years. Yeah, more recently. And so seeking out mentors and wanting to learn more about what does it mean to be Indigenous today, and how can I be a good community member. And so starting with naturally starting with Native youth has always made me feel really good, of hanging out, making young people feel good, and that they can turn to somebody and as a friend. And I want to do it more actively. Yeah. Was that the
I love
question?
it.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
went off
no,
on
that
a
was good.
different tangent.
No, that was good. I think what made me laugh was like the memes. Like it's interesting, but like how much a meme can go a long way. And just, they said a picture's worth 1,000 words. So it's like that medicine, it's almost like, that's like you have them handy, like, like, ooh, I found some good ones.
Yeah.
Gotta use them in in these dire situations.
Except for Tomas, he's my husband. I send him so many memes and so many videos, and sometimes he doesn't even reply.
Oh, hey, you know what? This is a perfect example. We are gonna go through conflict resolution right now, y'all.
Okay. Bring it up.
Yep. It's been said we express love in different, we have different love languages. And I haven't, a lot of people reference, I think there's either a book or several books, but we know that there's a tie, there's a tie to, we can always look at an indigenous tie to some of these principles, or a lot of these principles, because it's tied in, it's all tied in. But it is important to know what the love language is of our peers, of our family. In my case, my wife. Like, for whatever reason, I'm pretty, like, my mind gets like really gets really spacey on a lot of things. And Sierra references this a lot. She's like, you kind of start off in the middle of a sentence that's like in your head, or like I'm on another paragraph. And so that's something that I'm working on. But I know that one thing I can do to help our household is to understand support and provide more of expressions that are in the love language of my partner, because she deserves it. And our anniversary is coming up. Our 1-year wedding anniversary is coming up this Saturday. And for all of our peers that are in relationships, for those of us who, and this goes to everyone in relationships, in a romantic relationship, amorous relationship, for those of us who are parents as well, there's so many levels to maintaining a sacred space in a sacred home. And we often find comfort and relief and support in the other relationships that are around us. At the Native Wellness Institute, we talk about the more wellness we bring for ourselves and in our circles, the more well we're going to be, right? In general, is like, how does it feel when we think of different points of our life in certain groups, maybe, or individuals that we were with that might not have had the best intentions, or were on a very difficult path, where they didn't feel they deserved healing, but in fact they do, or they didn't have the tools maybe presented in a way that seemed approachable, or they weren't encouraged to say, hey, you have the power to heal yourself. Jalene Joseph, Executive Director of the Native Wellness Institute, she talks about the power of the mind. It's so amazing that when we tell our mind and steer our mind towards a way of speaking in the language of healing and being healing informed, that in and of itself is very transformative. Oh, and thank you for the happy anniversary there. That's my mother-in-law. Hey, thank you. Yeah. Okay. And someone referenced a book. I haven't read Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. I'm not saying I endorse or anything right now, but it's always good to read. I'll take a look at it. I appreciate that, Christina. And another happy anniversary. Appreciate that. We have a lot to learn. There's a lot of examples of Indigenous love in our lives, within our families. We see how people break intergenerational and historical trauma. For Sierra and I, specifically in our peer group, one of the tools and one of the ways that we support each other is involving our friends in projects. Like, for example, Sierra and I have this project called Native Love Stories, and we celebrate love stories within our community. And a lot of the responses are overwhelmingly positive, where they're like, this is good to see, and we're very much mindful of being inclusive at all levels. And so we know that Indigenous love exists in so many ways, but when people look at art in what we call visual medicine, it can help kick off a whole range of ideas, whether it's hope, whether it's comfort, whether it's inspiration. And all of this comes from a place of love and a place of abundance. How can you involve some of your family or some of your peers? It might be a quilling circle or a quilting circle, or it can be there's a family member that might share a lot of photos, like tons of photos, always on the what's it called, on the text messages. And maybe you're one that just generally doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised if you took a healthy risk and you sent a photo that shines a little bit of light on your day or how you feel, that it can go a long way for someone else as well. So for those of us who don't send that many images, or back to Sierra's example, for those of us who need to reply more and acknowledge, I try. It's hard to keep up. Sierra is like the Sierra got TikTok on lock. Like, she sends me so many, and I haven't figured out how to respond to each one individually, but I want to full 100% say what Sierra sends me makes me so happy and inspires me, and I'm gonna respond more because that love language is important. would you like to add? Oh, Sarah just sent me more TikToks right now as we're speaking.
No. Yeah, we are, thank you for sharing everything that you have shared, Tomas. It's just like circling back to supporting each other, and there's different ways that we can support each other. There's working relationships, there's partner relationships, there's parent relationships, and
Friendships.
And so I think one thing that has helped me a lot with finding my support circles and giving and supporting people is knowing what I have the capacity to do. And so if that's just, oh, I'm sending you prayers today, I know that you're going through a hard time, or oh, I can do a little bit more by maybe stopping by, giving some one-on-one time, or a little bit more with a gift. I mean, a lot of times it's like what we were saying about the love language is like, what is your type of love language, and how do you feel the most supportive? If you sat down right now and thought, this is the best way that my friend could support me, or this is the best way that my partner could support me right now, and being open and honest about it. A lot of times we don't know how to read minds. And unfortunately, a lot of times, like, I am very, I can be very quiet or not as responsive. And I know that Tomas is somebody who loves to talk and talk things out. And so a lot of times I feel like our love languages don't match up, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad I'm not saying or talking and supporting in a certain way. But yeah, just figure out where
No, I think you brought up a lot of good points. It has that level of compassion and empathy, of thinking of the others. When we're good relatives, we often think of that, have empathy. And even when we're facing a, let's say, conflict or a stressful situation, asking the other person, how can I best help you in this moment, versus offering what you think should be the best for them in that moment. I feel like those are two different ways of thinking. And I know a lot of our mentors at NWI talk about responding versus reacting. If we react, then it seems to be just like certain parts of our brain are just fire off, and we might cause more harm and increase insult to injury, versus responding mindfully, taking a few more milliseconds to say, where is this coming from? How am I internalizing this? How am I taking this in right now? How is this going to help our relationship? How is this going to help that person that might be in need or is in need right now, or we might be that person in need as well? Like, I want to bring up a comment here in the chat, because when I wanted to clarify, when speaking about taking a healthy risk and sharing things with maybe family members, certainly the importance of healthy boundaries applies. Our family and family structures are varied. The places that our family can be on a healing journey, which we know is infinite, could vary. And there's the big word discernment. We need to make that discernment and have, think about it. Think about maybe we don't include somebody. I'm just kidding. in the text, I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is, like, definitely use your discernment when sharing. What I wanted to reinforce was on the side of people being happy to hear from you. Like, let's say our elders who may or may not have heard from us in a long time. And to us, it might seem like, oh, it was only, a couple days, but it might feel like a while for them because they just really want to hear about us. And even about like sometimes the minute little details, like my father-in-law hits us up often, and my mother-in-law as well. We send photos of Hosea. We live in different cities, and so all of that is very helpful. One of the things I wanted to ask right now in the comments, because we have some people here in the comments, is if you'd like to share anything that you've found that helps your peers, in the sense of providing support during this ongoing, prolonged, pandemic. We're always here to learn. My grandmother would say to be a student for life, and I want to be that. I want to continue learning and expanding these ways of knowing, because that way we can help more people. We can help ourselves as well. A couple of the topics that we've covered have been covered before in different ways. Being that Sierra and I are on here, we tend to kind of lean towards like, what are some signs of, healthy relationship? And Sierra mentioned that, relationships come in different forms, but some of those concepts are still applicable. And one thing that I often say when we talk about this is respecting each person's sovereignty. We, like Sierra was saying, we own a company together. We are in the same industry, in the sense in the creative industry. I didn't get to say but in my introduction yet, but I'm a creative director, film director, visual artist, and writer. And Sierra and I get to work on creative projects. It's important that as we have career goals and we're creating bodies of work, and we are mindful of, it's important that we're mindful of each person's world, of their universe. Like what are their dreams? How can we support them while at the same time moving forward towards what we want to accomplish in our body of work? So I often ask myself that very question as the schedule gets busy and more opportunities happen. I would feel very sad if my partner and my family felt like I lost touch, that I didn't devote enough time. And as Indigenous people, we know the importance of balance, and so it's a constant teaching. Every day. It's a choice to move towards wellness. And so I just want to say that I'm really proud of each and every one of you who are on here right now, and who participate often in these opportunities. Passing it over to Sierra.
Little claps. Man.
Thought you were making bread.
Hosea just fell asleep. So awesome.
Group nap time. I'm just kidding.
Group nap time. No, it's definitely been we had Hosea at the beginning of the pandemic, and right now working towards I've been working more recently, and so she's so cute. Figuring out my balancing of time and schedule. I mean, we're all trying to figure out balancing times and schedules. And at the beginning of the year, I feel like on a Monday, I like to journal, or not journal. I have a planner. I think they're called a hello planner or a happy planner. It's called a happy planner. Who here has ever used a happy planner? It's so much fun. A lot of times they have different types of like little entries at the top, like how you're feeling, or what's something that you learned today. And it just like, I feel like it keeps me in check with like we have our daily schedules. Okay, like wake up, eat, play outside, or do something lunchtime. Okay, clean. Like we're going through our daily routines, and a lot of times when we're caught up in our daily routines and our daily hobbies, it's easy. I feel like for me, it's easy to sink back into like not the best mindset of being like, oh, like I don't want to wake up right now. I feel like so grumpy, or one thing went wrong and I'm like, I'm having a bad day now. And so how can we do that work on a daily basis of keeping ourselves grounded, keeping ourselves in check? Like what work do we need to do to, especially when we're working with community, especially when we're working with youth, like we have no idea what other people are going through in their lives, or like if something had happened. And so just always being mindful of what type of energy that we bring to a space, like even here on live, or when we're working with youth or community. If you're having a bad day, if your energy is off just a little bit, like people are going to be able to tell, like our youth are going to be able to feel it. And so if it's taking like 5 minutes of like, okay, I just like need to breathe, I need to like think of happy things, or I need to look back at photos that make me happy. I just need to blast some music for 5 minutes and get ready to go. Like how it's not only about supporting each other, but how can you support yourself in those times? I think it's something that something I need to work more on. And it's just I'm a mom now, I'm growing up. 20 something growing up. I'm gonna be yeah, we're all getting older. And so I guess like in the chat, what is something that helps you bump your scale of 1 to 10? And do you actively, if you're having a bad day, do you what tools can we use to not necessarily like get out of those feelings, but acknowledge those feelings and say, okay, feelings, we're going to feel this for a little bit, but we have to keep the day moving. We're going to be around a lot of people. You know, I don't want this energy to rub other people the wrong way. Yeah, so that's my question to you. What are some of the tools that you use to like help bump your number up?
Thank you, love. I like what Nico just said. Something about grounding really starts the day right. Yeah, I feel that big time. You know, we each might have our way and maybe have certain medicines or things that we say, or you know, just our own personal way of being grounded and starting in that way. And it's super helpful. I think exactly what Sierra was saying about, it's not saying get rid of those feelings, or it's more of like how do we send the support needed, either from within or from others around us, to help us feel better, to get to a place where, let's say we all have different functions as family members, as coworkers, some of us are in leadership, and we're all capable leaders. What are when is it important to be like, hey, you know, our peer is not has a lot on their has a lot on their plate right now. How can we as a team help lift them up, or maybe even sub out in a loving way, where it's non-judgmental, where it's encouraging, where we can uplift somebody when they're going through a hard or challenging time. Burnout is a real thing. It's an absolute like, and not to say that anybody's questions if it's a real thing, but it's more in the sense of there's different attitudes towards it. I think certain parts of society encourage and say, it's part of the sacrifice, work to the very end, you must give, give, and give. And while the give back portion is super important to a lot of our cultures, it's as important to know when to ask for help and when to kind of stop and take a moment and recenter and readjust, and sometimes pull away a little bit, but certainly there's specific things that we could talk about. Like, for example, I was going to ask Sierra a question, but I'll go ahead and read a couple of these additional comments. They're kind of slowly coming in. It says there's 26, but I can only read like 4 of them. So I'm trying my best. But speaking directly to young dads out there, and even more specifically to young Indigenous fathers, I have so much to learn. I have absolutely so much to learn. In that process, there are things that I've picked up from my mentors and loved ones and in my own journey. And I really like one of my aunties who she recently passed away. And we were talking almost every day throughout the pandemic. And we just had these wonderful conversations, especially towards the end. We talked for hours. And she reminded me, she said, remember that when there's a situation where I feel like I'm reaching like a threshold, like where it's just too much, it's overwhelming, that it's okay to even like let my partner know, let our loved ones know that we need to step away. And I've done that, and Sierra's done that, and that means like, okay, I'm gonna take a walk with Hasea right now, or let me, it's okay for there to be space or room, because it is part of, again, of our sovereignty, of our the ability to be free and to move towards a situation that is gonna help us respond better. And I think the communication part is important. And I'm thankful to my aunt. My auntie shared this information after she spoke about some of the harmful things that she experienced in her own life. And what she said is she didn't want me to experience that, or Sierra and I to experience that. And I knew at the time, given some of my auntie's health conditions, that she was giving as much of herself, of her ancestral wisdom, of her lived experience, in an act of love, because she wants our generation to continue building, upon the healing work that has been done. And even though she is a woman who lived through extreme forms of I would say toxicity and different things, she spoke from a place of peace and compassion, but also assertiveness. When we've identified that things are no longer serving us good, as our mentors say at NWI, we need to let them go. And there's different ways to do that. And you might have seen it in other power hours, how we can do a letting go. Because we really do carry a lot. And so to see that with my auntie, and with several others, like it's really it's really stayed with me. And in moments where a younger self or former self, pre-dad self, I feel like my mind was much more like reactive, like I'm just reacting, like I'm almost like expecting something to go bad, like, oh, something fell, did baby get hurt? um and this is where Jolene tells us, energy flows where the mind goes. If we're thinking something bad's going to happen, we're almost like calling it into existence in a way, and or we're making it so that we're anxious, and when something does happen, because things happen in life, we might be already using a lot of that mental power and in our heart in this kind of like frazzled, chaotic way, versus being like, I'm maintaining balance, I'm being grounded, things will happen around us, things will happen to us. But if we maintain that place of wellness, then we can better respond. And so I have experienced several frustrations as a young Indigenous father. And I've had some wonderful examples in my family of men who have been providers, who have shown emotional intelligence, who have shown kindness, who have broken their own cycles of toxic cycles in the family, and I'm building upon that. But certainly, experiencing it and living through it is something I reflect on every day. And so I'm just putting this out there to other young dads, like, please reach out to me. If you have questions about it, about when things are getting tough, or anything that I might be able to offer, or just if you want me to listen, because we really have come a long way, as people. And there's a lot of negative perceptions a lot of times about specifically Native men. And there's so many reasons to it. The most important part, and this gets into another topic, and I'll switch over to Sierra right now. There are so many healing survivors right now, and as we say a lot, it's important to prioritize and respect our healing survivors, and to understand that some of the topics that we talk about might not be the lived experience for others. And so I always try to think with that level of compassion and not make assumptions. And so to all our loved ones in relationships where there are, hurtful things happening, we are thinking of you, and we love you, and we want you to be well. And there's a lot of men and matriarchs and non-gender conforming relatives that are good relatives that want a change. It's long overdue when we see certain things happen, especially very publicly in situations. And so this is just to say the work continues. It will continue. And just, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Thomas. Thank you all for tuning in. Hey, Alana. I'm just reading some of the comments. Hello, Mariah. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again on here. My friend Demetria Buck, hello. Well, thank you guys for continuing to be with us and hear us out. And what is something that you enjoy when you need support Is that something around the house, or is it some alone time, or is it a good healthy meal? But Tomas, what is your favorite way of being supported? Or give us a take on
I love
that.
food. I love food. I love sharing a meal with loved ones. I love either cooking together or going to a favorite place, or yeah, anything tied around food and memories around food. I really like. Demi just commented. Demetria Buck, dear sister, out in Cali. I was gonna say, if you could tell us a little bit more, Sierra. One of the things that brings so much joy to me is when you're on like FaceTime, or you're on IG and you're like quilling or working on something with Demi and Ruby. Can you tell us more about that and like how that's helped you through things?
Yeah. So at the end of last year, I do quill work, and I I through social media have found, or we found each other, other quillers, and we have a Instagram little chat going on, and we send each other support and memes, and now we're just a bunch of buddies.
How does it
But
make you feel?
it makes me feel really good, because I think like a lot of times when I would craft before, I would like put on a show, and when I was crafting a lot, I watched all the shows that I wanted to. I watched all the YouTube videos that I wanted to. And I just found myself like alone a lot of the times. And it's okay to be alone, but when you're feeling really lonely, that sucks. And so finding these other quillers was a lot of fun, because we quill together, we tell jokes, and share teachings with one another. And yeah, they've been a really good support craft circle that I've been a part of, and it's been really cool to reach out and find that community, and support each other while we're crafting, whether that's like tips, or hey, should I do this color or that color? Yeah, so it's been pretty good.
One of the things that happened recently too, and obviously we need to follow guidelines and all the recommendations for staying safe. A lot of our peers have expressed like a shared feeling of wanting to see each other in person, just because this pandemic has gone so long, and I know not all of us are in a position to do that, whether that's the circumstances of our individual nations, or maybe our own personal health reasons. But we were able to get together at the Herd Indian market recently, and there was a photo that my brother Thosh created with all of us, and like that feeling of being next to each other was amazing. Just being like watching the kids run on the grass, bumping into people and saying hello. We know that what I want to say there is like, I know we've all experienced it in different levels, and maybe have gotten to get together. That's a weird sense. Have had a chance to get together with our family and friends. There's always the part where it's like there's something to look forward to. These moments, if they are particularly challenging, will pass. I like to think of it of in this little fraction of time right now. It might feel like forever in that instance, but there are good times to come where we're going to share those meals, and some of you will go on like a powwow circuit, and feast times, and maybe swimming. Thinking of the kiddos, when I think of that, like it's one of my favorite pastimes when I was a little kid, especially out here in the desert trying to get out of the heat. So it's like there's a way that we've been able to help with that through these power hours. Someone just mentioned in the comments that it helps get them through the week, the power hour. That's why we feel every second that we were delayed. Again, we could have reacted and been like, oh my gosh, so many people are, they're gonna be so upset. But we knew like there's technical difficulties. We just had to respond and know, and it's a good feeling that we're here to serve community, that we bring joy. As people say, even if it's like one person or a couple of people, if each person is a universe and they influence and affect all other types of universes in their families, it's always going to be impactful, and it's always going to be important. And so again, just some more positive reinforcement of all the things that you could be doing with this hour. You are choosing discussions on wellness and on health. You are actionable. You're putting into practice principles of showing love to yourself, of respecting the beauty that you walk with wanting something good for yourself and your family, maybe learning a new idea, maybe sharing with us. And maybe one of the gifts and the many reasons you're here is to share with us. And so there's always that level of gratitude when it comes to it. Is like all these blips in time, all of these actions and words are a continuation on that textile, if you will, or the fabric for our youth to look at. And now there's like this digital aspect of it, and our youth will see that there's all these instances built on top of what we say through our oral traditions, what doesn't get documented, what doesn't get photographed or written out. This is all part of that abundance, and in a beautiful gift to our future generations. So again, just like really grateful for you to have been tuning in here. And we're getting towards the last about maybe 10 minutes. So if we have any additional questions, if you can put them in the comments, we'd love to answer some questions. Or if you have some comments, please drop them in. All right. How about where we're at right now on that scale of 1 to 10? How are we feeling from a scale of 1 to 10?
I think if we do like a little like pick me up would be good.
Yeah.
Like if you guys want to stretch it out a little bit before we end. That's how I'm feeling. Okay, so let's do a quick little neck roll. If you guys want to join in with me, take some deep breaths. We're gonna move our necks in one direction for 15 seconds, and then we'll switch to the other 15. And so I'll count. So let's just take a deep breath. This power hour is gonna close pretty soon. So let's just work on grounding ourselves really quick with each other. So deep breaths, and we're gonna go around, and I'll count in my head and tell you when to move in one direction.
I'm hearing a lot of cracks.
Right, and switch the other way. Don't get dizzy. The Zoom. Stretch the Zoom. Oh wait, okay. Supposed to be counting. All right. Nice. Let's take some deep breaths. Let's do 5 deep breaths.
I needed that. My neck's crunchy, y'all. It's crunchy.
We're gonna have a good day. We're gonna be better communicators of how people can support us.
We're gonna reply to our wives' TikTok messages.
We're gonna support our communities more and each other. Nice. Thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you all have a good rest of your week. Happy Women's Month. Shout out to all my ladies out there and those who self-identify as women. This is our month, but you know, every month is our month. But it's awesome to feel celebrated in that way. And so I just want to celebrate y'all today and put that out before we close. You guys make the world go round, and I'm so excited to have spent this time with you. I said that like 5 times or probably 10 times already. I feel it.
Hey, oh, we got Kiora. Got some families and relatives from Aotearoa. Thank you for tuning in. And then Kim says, pray for me. Oh, this is the day that my mother passed. We will be praying for you. Yeah, that's all definitely, you know, send some loving energy to Kim and to everyone near and dear to her mother who passed. You know, it's really important that we support each other when our loved ones go to that other side camp. There's so much power in prayer, and so we will certainly do that for you. Thank you, Sarah, for I think in doing what you just asked us to do, like the neck roll, I have a lot more tension than I thought I had, and it reminds me to move. And there's so many great examples of other power hours that encourage us to move, and how movement brings wellness. I always think of examples of like moving water. Like when I think of water, let's say that stands still or is stagnant, it has a purpose, right, in all of creation. But I also think of that's the water that might start to get murky. We might get some mosquitoes happening there, and that water that's in motion, you know, it's moving forward, and it's has its own vibrancy, and then you can also share that water further into different tributaries. I always like seeing examples like that. I remember my uncle would give examples of that just around us, examples from the land. And so thinking of that, and when we say these prayers, how much we can, to the point that we can give right now, right? Like pray for the even, this is encouraged of us too, right? Obviously pray for our blessings, pray for the good things that happen to us, pray for the relatives that have been good relatives to us, but also pray to the relatives that have maybe caused us some harm. Pray for healing for them. One example, and this happens more often than anyone would like, but a dear relative, and actually on Sierra's side, he and his partner had their regalia stolen recently. And I really loved that part of his message to people, even though like a GoFundMe was raised and there was this attention on the situation. He brought up that he's not the only one, and that there are others that this happens to. And I was just getting a text in, sorry. And what I love about that story is he mentioned praying for that person and saying that, you know, the prayers that go into the regalia, may they help whoever took it. May they find healing. And I know that's a shared sentiment among our people. And so that's a beautiful way of responding to a situation. And I really appreciated that from my brother. And it was he and his friend. His friend had his regalia stolen. But that being said, for closing, maybe remarks or thoughts or expressions, is there anything you want to add, love?
Oh no, I think I said it.
Okay. She's like, land that plane, Tomas. It's taking forever. What I want to say is thank you so much for being patient with us, even though we started a bit after. Like we said, we wanted to carry this out so that we can achieve that full power hour, because if not, it would have been a power 59 minutes or 55 minutes. So we got to, you know, go as advertised, power hour. Maybe we could round up a little bit. But you will get to meet more of the I20SP fam, and to demystify it here at the very end. I20SP means you could be a little bit younger than in your 20s. You could be a little bit older. I'm an upper limits I20SP. But the whole idea is like, it's about creating safe spaces where we can talk about healing and how we can bring healing to our communities. It's a movement. And so if you are interested in learning more about I20SP, please reach out. You could always go to www.nativewellness.com or hit us up through at Native Wellness on IG or through here on Facebook as well. With that, thank you so much. Thank you.